Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to make a book with using all of this stuff and a few other bits that hadn't arrived by the time I shot this. So the first part you need to do is you need to fold your pages. You need to fold them into things called signatures. And these are groups of pages together that you then put a load of signatures together and that forms your book. I did sets of 4 A3 pages folded in half and joined 16 of them together to get the pages of my book. This gave me about a 2-inch thick book. This interesting looking object is to ensure that all the stitching holes go in the same place on every set of pages. I haven't recorded a video on it. It's a piece of wood with some holes and some nails in. There are other ways of doing it with saws and awls, but I didn't trust myself to do it accurately enough otherwise. So this is the tool I made in my last video, which is a stitching jig, and it's used to hold all the pages in place whilst I sew the cords that go around the spine of the book on. And I left myself just the right amount of thread for the end. I could have done with a little bit more really, but just about managed to tie the finishing knot. So once you've sewn all the cords on, you need to cut them. These will then be glued to the covers of your book to help hold them on. So I'm using wood adhesive. It's effectively PVA. Well, most of the videos I watched online said PVA was fine to do bookbinding with. And so I just put loads on and massaged it in with my finger. Took about 5 minutes. And I wanted to put a bookmark in so that I didn't lose my place or didn't have to go looking for my place when using the book. Wanted to have a bit of shape to the book, so I hammered it round. It's surprisingly how much hitting the paper can take. This is throwing the headbands on. There's a video link below for that. It's not mine, but it's where I learned to do it. There's a bit of cloth that goes on the back of the book to help strengthen the spine. And I'm just marking out the holes for the cords to go through to hold the covers on. I wanted a fairly chunky book, so I'm using 2mm birch ply. And I'm going to stick leather over the top of that. And the leather we're using is quite thick because we wanted to buy one piece of leather to do a whole load of things. And bookbinding leather is quite thin, so it's just a little bit thick, but it worked absolutely fine. You put the cords through, you fray them, it gives you maximum surface area for the glue to put on, and there's the other one done. So it's all frayed. You then need to get the glue out and just start pasting the threads down onto that cover. It takes a surprising amount of glue. When you're finished, you want to make sure that the glue doesn't make the book wet. So you need to put a few pages of other paper up against that red sheet in my case, and then a piece of baking parchment. And that should stop most of the moisture that's in the glue permeating into the book, which would make your pages wrinkly. Clamp and leave overnight. Or a while longer. My impatience got the better of me, and so I ended up peeling the parchment off to make sure it didn't stick. It was a little bit early, but it was enough to hold. You can see the sacrificial page underneath, is even through the baking parchment, has got quite a lot of moisture in it. I probably should have had more than one sheet. But I think I got away with it. So the leather I'm using, it's about 2.5 mil thick. So more glue. You use a lot of glue in this, it seems, and spread it on quite liberally, and then you want to make sure that the middle of your leather goes over the middle of the book as straight as possible. That will ensure that your corners will line up. A healthy overlap is advised for that. I'm using a bone folder to press the leather around the cords just to get a rough shape so I can see them. And then I'm using this other little jig I made. I've seen people struggle with bits of string around furniture and all sorts. But I made a little clamp with little pegs in it so I can tie string around it, and I can emphasize where the cords are with the leather. Helps hold it all together. It holds the leather on the glue really firmly while it dries, and allows me to shape and get the finish I want. And again, it's a leave it overnight job. I'm getting ready to cover around the sort of cover boards. So trim the leather. I trim too much leather off here. When folded around the corner, they don't meet. So I would advise doing one of the 45s, one half of it, and then cutting the other one once it's folded around the corner. Another thing you don't want to do is drop your leather whenever the contact adhesive is ready to stick, because it sticks instantly. And this is pretty hard to get off. There's a shot of adrenaline that I didn't need at that particular moment. More glue, more weighting, and then smooth it down from the spine to the edges of the book, making sure you press out all the air bubbles, if you have any at all. The edges are done the same way, contact adhesive on both sides, wait for it to dry. It's just basic contact adhesive, it's not anything fancy. And then fold it over, have a helping hand if you have one. These were the fiddliest bits, getting this little bit curved in and around the headbands. I probably should have put a couple of little slots in it, but with a bit of moisture and a bit of perseverance and a bone folder, you can just tuck it in. Although with my thick leather I was using, it did kind of stick out a bit, but it matched where the cords were in height, so it kind of looked right anyway. That's something to bear in mind. Now for decoration, I've wetted the leather, and I've got my pattern on baking paper and drawn over it and impressed it in. This cuts little slots, normally for seams on leather, but I'm using it to just cut grooves that I'm going to inlay the gold leaf into. This is my little shadow. He's always underfoot. He's currently being a desk beast. Pops out every now and again looking for biscuits. What can I do for you? Me? You looking away? So I'm using the ruler and the little cutter to cut the last of these lines in. You can see all the little tiny bits of leather I've taken out, scattered everywhere. Now it's time for dyeing. We're going for a nice black. I should have wetted the leather before applying the dye. It would have helped it spread out and be more even. It looks quite streaky and took several coats to get it even. This is the sealer. I put this on before doing any of the gold leaf stuff. It just means that the dye doesn't rub off on my hands or come off with the glue onto the brush. when I'm putting the glue on before the gold leaf. And it did help even out the colour of the book. There's a lot of speeded up shots here. That's because it takes ages to do every little individual line. You just put the glue in, let it dry more or less, and then get a nice stiff brush, and started with the whole sheet, but then just used the crumbs of that and just stippled those into the little grooves. I ended up going over it a couple of times, where there were a few gaps where the glue didn't quite stick or where the brush had pulled little bits off. But in the end, it looked really good. You want to make sure you do this away from anything electronic, because all of those little pieces are conductive and will kill anything they get into. These are the last finishing touches. They're just some little decorative brass thingies that I got off Amazon. They just help bring it all together. And then there's a little bit of cardboard to just help even out the thickness of the leather and the wood. And then I'm just going to stick this cover page onto the cover. And that's it done. So all good books should come with a little thing at the beginning, reminder of why you made the book or what it's going to be used for. So this is my little reminder, as it's going to be my design and ideas book and a way of keeping track of what I'm doing. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe and ask questions and comment down below, and I hope to see you in the next one.